Hi, I'm Ann Garcia, a fee-only certified financial planner. As the college financial lady, I've helped thousands of families save millions of dollars on college. Today I'm going to talk you through how to complete the FAFSA. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. And if you're the parent of a high school senior who's going to college next year, you need to fill out the FAFSA this fall. There are two pieces to doing the FAFSA. The first is just the nuts and bolts of doing it. The second is understanding how it works, what it does, and some things you can do before filing it that will not only make the process go more smoothly, but could save you thousands of dollars on college. Whatever horror stories you might have heard, it's actually not that hard to fill out the FAFSA. It just takes a little time. The first step is to get an FSA ID. You, the parent, and your student each need an FSA ID because both of you will fill out the FAFSA. The FAFSA's website is studentaid.gov. You get your FSA ID there and you'll complete the FAFSA there. Getting your FSA ID just requires your social security number and your email address or mobile phone number, but it can take a couple of days to get the number once you submit your data. So as soon as you're done with this video, head over to studentaid.gov and do it. I'm going to switch gears now and talk about how the FAFSA works because there might be some things you want to do before filling it out. I think the biggest misperception about the FAFSA is that it's the tooth fairy, and it's not. It's a tool that colleges use to evaluate all students' ability to pay on a consistent set of metrics by calculating a number called the expected family contribution, or EFC. If you only know two things about the FAFSA, they should be this. First, the FAFSA tells you what the federal government thinks you should be able to spend for college annually, but it does not require schools to meet your need. Second, whether or not you think you'll get financial aid, you should still fill out the FAFSA. The FAFSA won't tell you how much college will cost or what you can afford. What you can afford is a function of how much you've saved, how much you can pay out of pocket, and whether you're okay with student loans. What a specific college costs is a function of how that college prices its services and uses different forms of aid to attract desirable students. Completing the FAFSA doesn't guarantee you financial aid, but not completing the FAFSA guarantees that you won't get any. Here's the thing about the FAFSA. Pretty much every school offers some form of need-based aid, and many of them offer grants to students with demonstrated need, which is the difference between the EFC and the cost of attendance. Good FAFSA planning can shave a few $1,000s off of your annual cost to attend if your student is eligible for need-based aid. The FAFSA takes the parent's income and assets and the student's income and assets, runs them through its bizarro formula, and spits out a number, again called the expected family contribution, or EFC. If you're filling out the FAFSA this fall, your only planning opportunity is your and your student's assets. That's because the FAFSA uses your prior year tax return for income, and obviously you can't go back in time to change that. A quick summary of the FAFSA formula is this. Your income gets a few allowances subtracted from it, then it's assessed at rates from 22% to 47%. Basically, that means that every incremental dollar of income increases your EFC by 47 cents. Your assets are assessed at a rate of 5.64%. That means that every incremental dollar of assets increases your EFC by 5.64 cents. If your student has more than $7,000 of income, it's assessed at 50%, and your student's assets are assessed at 20%. That means that an extra $1,000 in your bank account increases your EFC by $56, but an extra $1,000 in your student's bank account increases your EFC by $200. The big opportunity for parents to reduce assets is to wait to file the FAFSA until you've paid your big bills like your mortgage and your credit card bill. In addition, any major purchases that you're going to make between now and the end of the year should be done before filing the FAFSA, again, to spend those dollars down. If you're someone who usually waits until you file your taxes to make retirement contributions, you could make them now too in order to remove those dollars from consideration on the FAFSA. Remember that parent assets aren't worth a lot in the formula, so you really should only do things you're going to do anyway to get them off of the FAFSA. For example, don't cash in your 529 and buy an annuity because that costs much more than it would benefit you. Every $2,000 you remove from your assets decreases your EFC by about $100. So as you can see, it takes some effort to move the needle here. Nonetheless, a lot of families have thousands of dollars less in their bank accounts once they've paid their monthly bills. So there's no reason not to do that before you file the FAFSA. The big piece of assets that families often overlook is student assets, and that's unfortunate. A student who worked 30 hours a week over the summer could have more than $4,000 in their bank account. If that's still there, it would increase their EFC by $800. A couple of things that students can do to reduce their assets. First, they can contribute to a Roth IRA. This completely removes the money from the FAFSA. On the other hand, if any of their money is for college, they could deposit it into their 529. This makes it a parent asset instead of a student asset. They can also spend their money on things they would buy, whether it's eating out or activity fees or gas for their car. A lot of people tell you have to file the FAFSA right away on October 1st, but most people don't need to. The pool of financial aid that's first come, first served is pretty small, and even people who are eligible for it don't need to be there on October 1st to claim it. Most financial aid is dispersed by the colleges themselves, and by October 1st, most people haven't even applied anywhere, let alone received a financial aid award. So, after you get your FAFSA ID, pay your bills, make your retirement contributions, and move your students' money to a Roth IRA or their 529. Now that you've done that, you're ready to file the FAFSA. So first things first, get your documents together. The main things you need are your prior year's W-2s and any other earnings records like 1099s and current balances in your bank 529 investment accounts and the value of any other assets you own like a vacation house or an investment property. It's also helpful to have your tax return handy. Your student starts the FAFSA. They'll fill out a bunch of survey questions like their address and high school info. Really important, no matter how much college credit they're earning in high school, they are a first-year college student, and they should say yes to being considered for work study. They can add the colleges they're applying to, and their FAFSA will be sent automatically to those schools, but they can also go back and add more after the fact. So if they don't know where they're applying when they file, or if they change their mind over the course of the fall and the application season, they can always go back to that. Once they've completed their part, it's your turn. You'll likewise add your personal data, and then you'll be asked to link your tax return to the FAFSA via the IRS data retrieval tool. I highly recommend that you do this if you're eligible instead of doing it manually, and by now almost all filing statuses are eligible. This simplifies things immensely. It makes sure the data is accurate and is likely to mean you won't have to go through FAFSA verification. Next, you'll be asked for adjustments to your income. This is where you add back certain items that aren't included in your adjusted gross income, but are included in your income for the FAFSA, and this is why you need your W-2s. This includes pre-tax retirement contributions, HSA contributions, and any tax-free income such as withdrawals from a Roth IRA. You'll find 401k and HSA contributions on your W-2s, IRA contributions or distributions are on your tax return. Divorced parents who pay child support or untaxed alimony get to subtract it. Divorced parents who received either of those have to add them. Next comes the asset questions. They're pretty simple, but they seem to generate the most confusion among people filing the FAFSA. First, you may be asked if your assets are greater than a certain amount. Assuming you say yes, and the amount's pretty low, so you probably will, you're asked, as of today, what is your parents' total current balance of cash, savings, and checking accounts? And as of today, what is the net worth of your parents' investments, including real estate, not your parents' home? The first question is pretty self-explanatory, and it's why you want to pay your bills before you file. The second question is asking you to provide the total value of all of your assets that the FAFSA counts. That means all of your 529s, regardless of which of your children is the beneficiary. It's basically everything that's not in a retirement account. The most important part of those two questions is the first three words, as of today. That's why you want to wait to fill out the FAFSA until you've got money out of your accounts. Then the student completes questions about their income and assets, including the same set of add backs to income, as well as account balances for bank and investment accounts. If your student has a Robinhood account, it goes here. Here's a tip with the FAFSA. Every question has a little question mark next to it. Click on that and you'll get all the details you need to answer that question. Once you've filled out all the forms, your student needs to sign it electronically and submit it. And that's how you fill out the FAFSA. I'm Ann Garcia, the College Financial Lady. If you found this video helpful, click the like button and subscribe to my channel to get notified of more content like this. If you want to learn more about the FAFSA or anything else related to paying for college, visit my website, thecollegefinanciallady.com, where I've got tons of info on everything from the FAFSA and merit scholarships to saving strategies, tax credits, and appealing financial aid awards. And if you want to map out a detailed college financial plan for your family, there's a discount code at the end of this video for my College Financial Plan Masterclass, which you'll find on my website.